So today we're going to be talking about Biderman's chart of coercion. And I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through it to just kind of give you an idea. If you're feeling depleted, if you feel despair, if you feel like there's no way out, if you feel trapped, there is good reason for all those feelings because of what you've been through and what these guys are capable of. We're not talking about your typical batterer that has a fist in your face or points a gun at your head or says, I'm going to run over you with my truck this afternoon. Uh, we're talking about often a very sophisticated level of abuse. Um, and it can involve physical and sexual violence, and it often does. But there's so many other additional ways that they work to control you and get inside your head and make you feel trapped. Now, does everybody see my screen now? The Biderman's chart of coercion, not vitamin, Biderman's chart of coercion, power and control comparison. So Amnesty International created this chart that showed the ways that torture victims get beaten down and worn down by their torturers as political prisoners and captives of war. And you know what we say so often here is that getting trapped in a relationship with a covert abuser is like becoming a prisoner of war, getting sucked into a cult, and being possessed by a demon. But we're going to focus now on how it relates to becoming a prisoner of war and becoming a torture victim. There's a lot of crossover between what happens to a political prisoner and what happens to a survivor when they get trapped in a relationship with a covert abuser. It's as Evan Stark talks about it. Coercive control is it's a political crime. It's a liberty crime because it violates your basic human right to be free and safe in your own home, out in the world, at your workplace. So there's that erosion of your sense of freedom and independence, and over time your identity. So that one of the components of this type of torture is isolation. You know, as a prisoner of war, sticking you into cells, you can't talk to anybody. But if you think about how that applies in your relationship with your partner, does he make it hard for you to spend time with your friends? Is he trying to turn some of them against you? Anybody that you have in common in your social circle, network that you share? Is he even trying to turn your own extended family members against you? Does he make you feel bad for going out and spending time with other friends and extended family members? Do you have to account for it later? Or does he give you the silent treatment? With one of our ladies, she can't even go for a walk by herself. He has to go with her. With other ladies, they can't go to a doctor's appointment by themselves. He's got to go with her. Can't go to the bank, can't go shopping. He's with her always. And so there's no opportunity for her to reach out and make connections with anybody because it's like wherever she goes, he goes. And over time, that can lead to her thinking that her horizon has shrunk to include only her partner, and figuring out what she can do to try to continue to keep the peace, to avoid setting him off. That monopolization of perception where all roads lead to him in the end. And these guys often, they have to be the center of attention. They want to be the center of your attention. And that's why often abuse will start with these guys when you get pregnant or have a child, because suddenly there's competition for attention that he thinks should be focused on him 24/7. So when you end up getting separated or going through the divorce with this kind of person, they still want to continue that monopolization of perception. You'll often see them flinging thousands of false allegations about you against the wall, waiting for something to stick, or demanding all kinds of different forms of discovery. We want to see all your credit card statements going back to 1995 or before you were born, like, so that you're spending every single waking hour trying to address whatever the latest attack is that's coming from his corner or his attorney's corner. They want your whole life to revolve around them. So there's no room left for you, for your work, for your goals, your dreams, your children. This induced debility and exhaustion. Did he ever come in the middle of the night, wake you up and start ranting and raving, either about the hard day he had at work or how useless you are, or the horrible thing your children did? Uh, have you felt that sort of exhaustion of being sent to do all these different things, tasks that he gives you to do, and there's no moment to recuperate, no moment of peace, where it's about wearing you down? If you need medical care, has he ever denied you that or made it hard for you to get that? Um, has he ever attacked you at night, tried to have sex with you while you were sleeping, or just made you feel that even after giving birth to twins by cesarean section that you should be going back to work right away or satisfying him sexually? Is there no room for your needs, your wants, your desires, your need to rest and recuperate? Is your whole life, are you made to feel that everything is about service to him and you have to be on call 24/7? How depleting that is, how exhausting that is. And then we get into threats. Now, these guys don't say, I'm going to run you over with my truck this afternoon. They don't point a gun to your head and threaten to shoot. Not usually they don't. Often if you've done something that has upset them or crossed the line in their perception, maybe if they have a gun, they'll just take it out and start cleaning it. Maybe they'll say things like, you don't want to get me mad. You don't want to see my dark side. Or with one of our beautiful ladies and advocates whose husband ended up killing their 5-year-old child, he started by saying, when I go, I'm going to go to Canada and I'm going to take our son with me. And then he ended up saying over time, it evolved to, when I go, I'm going to take our son with me. And then in the end, when he went, he did take their son with him. He killed himself and their son. But these threats are often veiled. And it often, coupled with that, is this kind of duping delight where they feel like they are getting the message across, but in a way that you may not fully understand. So they're harboring some kind of secret or something that they can get away with, where it's not something you could call the police and say, he made a felonious threat against my life, but you get the message loud and clear. Like with one of our ladies, during the property settlement phase of their divorce, they're in a settlement officer conference. She's got her attorney with her. He's got his attorney with him. And then they've got this pro tem judge who's trying to act as a mediator and settle things so they don't have to end up going into the official court setting. So everything seems to be going fine. Initially, she's got her PTSD under control, it seems, and she's coherent and articulate. And then the talk turns to the property settlement, the financial distribution, and what she's entitled to and what he wants to have. And he says very calmly, all I want here today is clear communication. Now, doesn't that sound pretty innocuous? But as soon as he said that, as soon as he made that remark, she started to shake. She started to stumble over her words. She said, "I've changed my mind. I don't need this. I don't need that." She walked away from that meeting, agreeing to very little of, hardly anything of what she was entitled to. And why? Why do you think that was? Well, it turned out later that he had a history of strangling her. And whenever his hands would go for her throat, he would say to her, I wouldn't have to do this if you were capable of clear communication. So you see how he telegraphed that message to her in a way that looked completely innocuous, completely casual. Threats, veiled threats. Or the doctor who says to his wife, as she's continuing to live with him during the divorce process, and as they're going through the property settlement phase, and he's cut off her access to the joint assets. It's been severe financial abuse, but the doctor who says to his wife at this point in the divorce process, do you know there's more than 40 ways to kill a woman and make it look like she died from natural causes? So she gets the message loud and clear. So they could range from those veiled threats to, if you leave, I will hunt you down and kill you, or I will destroy you. Many of our survivors talk about how they use the language of war. I will destroy you. This is war. You will have nothing. I will take everything. I will take the children. You will have nothing. One of our survivors called it the scorched earth policy. And sometimes it's threats against the pets, threats against the children, threats against the pets. Because how can he hurt her the most? By going after what means the most to her. And then they make couple this behavior with every now and again doing something nice. Bringing her flowers, or going on a trip, or saying something nice. We don't usually see them apologizing. In this demographic, that is not typically the case for the culture of affluence, because along with the lifestyle, there's this sense of, look at this great, the lifestyle that I'm letting you live. It's this a life of apparent privilege that he's bestowed upon you, and you should be grateful and for everything that he's given you, sharing his money with you. They don't really think about California as a community property state. It's like there's California law and his law, and he thinks his law supersedes California law. And if he gives you something, it's not out of the joint assets. It's something here's something for you. But that's what that sets up, that kind of intermittent reinforcement that and can can throw you off balance. Well, he said this cruel thing to me, or he did this cruel thing to our children, but then look, here he is. He's being, he's playing with the kids, or he's talking about this trip that we're going to take. How do you reconcile those two opposing forces in your mind? Our brain isn't set up to deal with two opposite concepts or personalities in the same body. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. How do we deal with that? And that sets up something called cognitive dissonance, and it can lead to denial and forgetting and numbing and minimizing. Oh yes, he did this, but maybe it wasn't so bad. Or and look at all the things he's done for me, and the good school that our kids go to, and he just bought me a grand piano, and look at these things he's done. And if you're living from this feeling of like deprivation, or like your self-worth and your identity has been chipped away, when you get this little gift or this moment of peace or respite, it's like a glass of water to somebody that's dying in the desert. That glass of water takes on such significance. Then demonstrating omnipotence. If you're a prisoner of war, that they have the literal power of life and death over you. But if you're living with an abuser who's very technically savvy and has hacked into all of your electronic devices, or your car, or your purse, you find later, oh, that's how he knew where you were, because he had an Apple AirTag in your purse. So that's how he was able to follow you from California to Florida, because there was an AirTag under your license plate. Or how did he know that you were talking to your friend, meeting your friend, or meeting with an attorney when you're standing by your car, if it happens to be a Tesla, because the recording comes on, the camera starts to record what's ever in the vicinity, even when it's turned off. How does he know where you are, stalking you in real time if you have one of these smart cars, even if you've left your phone at home? Well, because he's stalking you using the app on his phone. How does he know what you've said, what you've done? Does he have a hidden camera in your light fixture, in the ceiling vent? One survivor, he had put a hidden camera in the shower head. So there can be hidden cameras in the brick that you're using to charge your phone, or the cable, the phone cable. These guys are so technically savvy that even if you change your passwords, has he installed keystroke logging software on your computer? So, oh, that's your new password. So it's very easy to start to look paranoid, but in fact, your every move is being watched. And if you try to explain this to a police officer or a therapist or a physician, it's very easy for you to start to look like you've got some kind of mental health issue We think about Occam's razor. Occam's razor is like the simplest explanation tends to be the correct one in many instances, but not when it comes to covert abuse. In this case, in our demographic, with the type of abuser you're up against, typically the most complicated explanation is the one that tends to be true. The fact that he has hacked into every single device and is monitoring you 24/7, almost with this godlike power. That is often the case. And so no wonder it's hard for you to feel safe in your home. No wonder you feel like your sanity is being eroded. No wonder people, even your friends, are starting to look twice at you and wonder, are you really, maybe are you starting to suffer from some mental health issues? Your husband, your partner has expressed concern for your mental health, and now because of sleep deprivation, because of being terrorized and isolated, and because he seems to be everywhere at once, sometimes these guys can end up driving you crazy, driving a perfectly sane person crazy. So, unfortunately, because of the lack of training that therapists and physicians and law enforcement and court staff generally have, if all you've got is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. So we really have to all do a better job of educating our friends, our extended family members, our colleagues about what coercive control looks like. Domestic violence is not all broken bones and bruises. That's the easy way to terrorize and trap somebody. But if you've got sophistication, if you've got a positive public image, if you've got an education and expertise in various areas of your life, boy, how many more tools do you have at your disposal to entrap somebody, to coerce and control them, all the while making it look like she's the problem and not you. Then this whole degradation, shame. Do you know that shaming somebody, it can start off as teasing, as what looks like good-natured teasing. And over time, that can devolve into making fun of her, of you, making jokes at your expense. And he may say, oh, can't you take a joke? Or just wanted to set everybody at their ease. Or, oh, I never said that. Or I would never say that. Denying it or making it look like it's your problem. But you know, Reed Malloy, he says that teasing, Reed Malloy is a forensic psychologist with an expertise in psychopathy. And he says that teasing is a socially acceptable form of sadism. Why? Because it's deriving pleasure from causing suffering to somebody else. And that's part of the dark tetrad, remember? Sadism is one of the components of the dark tetrad. So, degradation, it's a way of reducing her sense of autonomy and independence and self-confidence, wearing away at her self-esteem, eroding it through calling her names, undermining her relationship with her children, making fun of her in front of the children or in front of other people. Shame is the most toxic human emotion, even with prisoners of war in the Second World War, when they became prisoners over in Japan. What was his name? Louis Zamperini, Unbroken. Unbroken was the name of the book, but he said, title of the book, many things happened to him. He was shot down and floating in the Pacific Ocean, nearly died, and horrible things happened to him. But when he became a prisoner in a prisoner of war camp, it was the way the guards treated him by relieving themselves in front of him, having sex with other women in front of him, like this sort of shaming, absolute shaming of him. That's when he wanted to die. Shame is the most toxic human emotion. And these guys they know that. Shame is what keeps many of our survivors silent. They're so ashamed of what has happened in their private life, especially if you all have been successful in other parts of your life. You are brilliant women, you're successful, you're educated, so capable in so many other areas of your life. And then what's happened behind closed doors in this area? There often in this demographic, such shame, such social stigma attached to domestic violence, to intimate partner violence, to coercive control in our demographic that it conspires to keep women silent. And abuse thrives in secrecy, shame, silence, and isolation. Then this enforcing trivial demands. Here, go to the department, go to the hardware store, wife. I want new handles on the drawers in the bathroom. Bring me back something that's acceptable. And so she'll bring back silver ones. He doesn't like silver. Well, bring me back gold. Doesn't like gold. She'll bring back something that's silver and gold. What are you doing combining both of those? So sending her on these meaningless, pointless little errands as another way of turning her into a servant, over time a slave, and then always changing the rules. What's acceptable today, today's dinner, it's acceptable today, you serve it next week, and what is this crap, throwing it on the floor. And no matter how high she jumps to try to reach the new bar that he set for her, is always just a little bit out of her reach. Uh, um, and enforcing these demands, forcing her to do things, coercing her, threatening her. Force, fraud, coercion. These are three elements of human trafficking. So many of our ladies, been sexually assaulted by their partners, forced to do things like going back to work right after giving birth, or forcing her to go to work when she's wanting to stay home to raise the children. Fraud. Oh, honey, you don't have to work. I'll look after you. And then she gives up her job to raise the children, and he accuses her of being a parasite. Or, here, sign this. And it's the last page of the income tax statement, but meanwhile, he's been cooking the books. Or even he forges her signature on it. Coercion. You are going to stay in this marriage, you're going to make it work, or you will live to regret it. You want to leave? I will take the children from you. So she learns that her life has been constricted to this small world that he rules. And we think about the principles that tyrants use in dominating a country. This is tyranny. Writ large across the world when one country takes over another. Writ small when your home becomes his kingdom and you become a servant or a slave in this kingdom that he's holding you hostage in. So do you wonder why you feel such despair, feel so trapped, like there's no way out? Once you start to get language about what's happening to you, then you don't have to take it personally. It's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because of so many of your beautiful qualities that you attract other people with beautiful qualities, but you also attract predators who take advantage of those qualities and slowly but surely start to erode your freedom, your sense of identity and independence. If they would only hold you at gunpoint and take you hostage, you would recognize what was happening to you. But because it's slow and subtle and incremental, that's often how they get away with this liberty crime of coercive control.